want to see it. It's breathtaking, you know.
Did you get a chance to go back to your old stomping grounds like State Street and Michigan
Oh,
Avenue and Rush?
absolutely. The first thing I do hit Bronzeville, which was like my neighborhood. They wasn't calling it that then, but Bronzeville was Bronzeville in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. And that was the hood that I grew up in. But the 30s, 40s, 50s, black people had money, real money. And the first gangsters in Chicago were the black gangsters. They're the ones who came up with the numbers, you know. And so they worked in tandem with the mob that was on the north side of Chicago. They was on the south side of Chicago. So if you go to Bronzeville, I'm talking about Michigan, Indiana, King Drive. You go up and down those streets from like 44th to like 47th, and all these buildings are huge, beautiful sculptured buildings made with stone that are out of this world. And at the time, they were mansions, individual mansions owned by black people who had, big cars. But as times changed, they fallen on hard times. I lived about a mile from there in the projects, Robert Taylor Homes, 4352 South State Apartment 909. So I always go, first thing I do is go to 47th Street. I go to 39th Street, the Pearls has a soul food breakfast that's out of this world. I go to 47th Street, the Bud's Shoe Shine, And I mean, I always go to the hood. No matter what city I go to, I make sure that I go to the community. I make sure that I meet people and talk to people, hang out with people, and try to encourage people. Like I said, I'm here in Houston today to go to a prison just to encourage women who are inmates and uplift them and tickle them, But no, I went to Morgan Park, where I'm from,
Yeah, Morgan Park. You went to Morgan Park High School, right?
Graduated Morgan Park in
Yeah, and
75.
75. Okay, so 75. What is Michael Colyar like in 1975? You just finished high school, and give me a little backstory on that high school year. What that's like.
Well, it was really interesting that Morgan Park, first of all, is what Lorraine Hansberry was talking about in A Raisin in the Sun. She called the neighborhood Clyburn Park, but she was modeling it after Morgan Park. And if you know the story, it's the story of a woman whose husband dies and leaves them a check for $10,000. So they try to move from the hood into a nice neighborhood with a house, but the white folks in that neighborhood are willing to pay her not to move in because they don't want black people in their neighborhood. Well, that was Morgan Park. When I moved there, Morgan Park had by then become mostly black on my side of the tracks. So on my side of the tracks, but nice homes. Now they're not as nice now because now it's the wild hundreds and gangs have moved in and things are terrible. But when I got there in '68, it was very nice, pristine grass. We did things in the park. Everybody talked to each other. We had to walk to the school, Morgan Park, which is across the tracks. Now that was 80% white, the school when I moved in, and 15% black and 5% other. 4 years later, because I went to school from 71 to 75, 4 years later when I left, it was 85% black, 10% white and other, and 10% white and 10% other. Because we had a few Asian kids and a few Spanish kids, but mostly white. But the white folks had the money. And over there's an area called Beverly, just like Beverly Hills in Chicago. I mean, in Los Angeles, there's a Beverly where it has big buildings and homes. And I loved going to high school. Well, what I was like then is I was an actor. I didn't know I was an actor. But the first year in high school, I saw the play Guys and Dolls. And these kids were playing gangsters from the 30s and the 40s, and it was everybody, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, that were in the cast, and they were hilarious, and it was beautiful, and I was blown away by it. And then I went to the cast party. That's a party that they have. They call it a cast party. They might even call it a rap party, but it's a big party you have after you get through doing a play. And they actually had it over in Beverly because some of the white actors, they had it at one of their big beautiful homes. And it was the first time I had been in a house with white, black, Asian, and Hispanic people. And everybody was truly friends to each other. Truly, truly dug each other. And it was because what they had in common was acting. And that's when I realized that the rest of my life I'm going to be an actor. And then I got a lead in every play for the next 3 years at Morgan Park. And all we did is concentrate on acting. When I left in '75, I came straight to Hollywood to try to be an actor, but I wasn't supposed to come because I had signed up to join the army.
So you was a teenager when you moved to L.A.
No, I moved to no. When I went the first time. When I went in 75. Yeah, when I went in 75, I was a teenager, but it didn't last because I had signed up to join the military. They had a thing called the delayed entry program. So if you was in high school, if you wanted a job in the military, you could join while you're in high school. And if you join, your parents would have to sign with you. And once you got out of high school, you're agreeing to do 3 to 6 years in the military, but they agree to give you the job you want and to place you want to be where you want to be placed. I want to be military police, and I want to be in England or Germany. And so I end up getting stationed in Germany, but but the place where I went to study to be military police, what they call it AIT, Advanced Individual Training. That's where you go after you go to boot camp, right? You go into whatever job you're doing, you go and study that under AIT. That was in McClellan, and Fort McClellan in Alabama. And Cat Williams just bought that base that I went to be military police. He bought the base at like 118 acres. He bought it to turn into a film studio.
Yeah.
But I went to Fort McClellan and studied military police. And so I ended up in journey. But the thing is, I signed up, but when I got out of high school, I was so pumped up about being an actor that instead of going to service, I carried my ass to California. I went to LA. I said, I'm going to be a star. And I went there and I got in acting classes and I took little side jobs. But I wasn't making no money and I wasn't getting no acting work. And I was there maybe 2 months. And the military was just bugging my mama because my mama had signed the papers saying I was coming in after high school. And they was bugging her, and and then they start saying stuff like, well, we'll arrest your mom and shit like that. And by then, I hadn't really clicked as an actor. And I was like, man, they bugging my mama. So I went on and turned myself in.
And how many years you gave him?
I only gave him 6. But it's so funny. They arrested me because I was 22 days AWOL. So they arrested me before I even started. Before I even went to basic camp, I started by being arrested. And so they came and got me. Actually, it was Navy. Came up from a naval base up in, because I was in L.A., in San Diego. And they sent Marines down, and they came to arrest me, but I left before they came. It was crazy. So I turned myself in. They said, okay, stay right here. We're going to call the people who's going to come down and see you. They was coming, I know, to arrest me. So I left because I had a girlfriend. I had met this girl. I will never forget her as long as I live. If you ever hear this story, track me down. Her name was Rafiki. I'll never forget it because I met her on a bus. And I went and I was taking a bus to go to the actor's studio to go studying acting. It was called the Actor Studios on Sunset.